Good evening! Halloween is still not over. This is Chrono Jotter. And don't worry, the image disappeared because I had to alt tab out to check that the streams are working. But I am Adventure Argonaut and this is the Chrono Jotter. It is some sort of visual novel with horror, investigation, and time travel. I assume. I don't know a great deal about the game. I played like few minutes of it earlier, like few days ago, just to see what kind of game it is. And I'm not a expert on visual novels at all. So, but at least like because I usually find them boring because you just read text instead of doing stuff. Like I like reading books, but like if I play a game, I also like to do stuff. However, at least this game, it has some investigation mechanics and some stats and stuff. But yeah, I don't really know what to expect. I saw it in a bundle, like maybe a month ago. I was thinking maybe this is a good game to stream on Halloween or around the Halloween season. I still argue that it's Halloween season. And so, anyways, so I bought it, and I think the Steam reviews are mostly positive. So some people like it. So let's have a look, because I don't know really what to expect. This was an enclosed space, without sound, without light. Ran Ibuki lay there, curled up on the floor. Her chest rose and fell gently in time with her breathing. She seemed to be asleep. Let her wake on her own. Like, yeah, this is one thing about, visual novels. Like, my impression is that many visual novels are like, these decisions may, like, can affect the ending a lot, even though they seem innocuous. Like somebody asks, do you like bananas or apples, and then you can say banana, apple, or I don't know, and then that's a big deal. But yeah, anyways, let's say this. Let her wake on her own. I didn't want to burden Run's mind any further, so I decided to let her wake on her own. After a moment passed, the ice-cold floor slowly began to steal away Ran's body heat. She shivered. Then Ran opened her eyes and rose from the floor, spurred by the cold. She hugged her shoulders tightly and looked all around, but she couldn't see a thing. She tried to remember just what happened the last time she'd been awake, but only found a strange mist over those memories. And within that mist, a single silhouette stood out, a girl in school uniform with an open notebook in her hands. Ron stared at that silhouette, now acutely aware of the dire situation she was in. It would be too long since she'd last eaten a page from the notebook. Too long she'd last eaten a page from the notebook. Wait, so she ate each pages? What? Her heartbeat, the pain from her solar plexus, and her perpetually sweat-stained face all reminded her that her symptoms were about to act up again. Ron tried her best to ignore her increasingly frenetic heartbeat, and with a practiced hand pulled out a notebook from a hidden pocket on the inside of her jacket. She gently caressed. It's funny if you were at all were hung around in something awful back in the day when it was still a thing. Gently caress. Anyway, she gently caressed the rough leather cover of the notebook, and her wildly beating heart settled down a little. Like a clownfish returning to its anemone. Anemone? Not sure how to pronounce it, but I do know it's some sort of sea creature. And clownfish TV. She wanted to open the notebook, but given how dark it was, she decided not to for the moment. I need to find some light. She held the notebook under her armpit and raised her right hand, trying to get an idea of the room's size and through touch. But it turned out she hardly needed to raise her arm at all to touch the ceiling of this space. Ran was left with no option but to press her right hand to the ceiling and slowly shuffle forwards. She confirmed that this enclosed space was extremely narrow, as if it was a coffin that had been custom fit to her size. Ran decided to give up on escaping for now. She sat down on the ground, pulled her cell phone out from an inner pocket on her jacket. She turned on the phone's flashlight, checked what she was wearing. A winter-styled school uniform, it turned out. She tapped the screen a few times trying to figure out her location, but the no signal indicator on the upper left corner left her stumped. Ran wiped her sweat, illuminated the notebook, and flipped to the page where her personal details were recorded. Ran Ibuki, late Heisei era investigation. I think Heisei. I think that was like 20 years ago or something. Because Japanese, they use the system based on their emperor. Whenever the emperor dies and they get a new one, then they come up with a new era name. So yeah, I think it was like early 2000s, something like that. I'm not quite sure when, like what's the actual period. Anyways, investigation 3, alacrity 3, charisma 3, temporary points nope. Currently suffering from damaged memory, but clearly understands that her goal is to find her girlfriend Ansakura. Understandings. This, that's a you know mistake, grammatical mistake. I do believe, and so yeah, her girlfriend Ansakura. So and we are some lesbian girl, I guess, in this game. Suffer from schizophrenia and hallucinates vividly under severe pressure, not giving a very positive view of the LGBT community. Oh well. Long-term use of olanzapine and therapy conducted by Ansakura have helped her recovery. So her girlfriend is her therapist. Okay, I'm a bit sus of this Anne right now. Received systematic training in logical analysis and deductive reasoning, but memory loss may lead to impaired abilities. She licked her lips, staring at the clearly questionable listings there, and decided to try her best at performing a recollection to warm up her brain if nothing else. I've recorded the term recall. Oh, and we have an image. All right, let's begin recollection. I should choose carefully. When the notebook has new information, a notification will appear here. So here. Click on the notebook and flip to the corresponding page to check the new information. I'm an investigative journalist, but when I reached the scene of the crime to conduct interviews, I discovered that the victim was my love. What should I do? Of course, stay calm and try to investigate the scene, or we could steal the police's investigation reports or charge through the police cordon and kiss the corpse. Yeah, because I did this like really quickly, just to I wanted to see sort of what sort of game. I think it sort of determines what stat you get. I think this is investigation, and this is alacrity, which is speed, dexterity, and this is charisma probably then. So let's get this. I don't know if all of the choices are like that, but that's my assumption. So, yeah, of course we we're we are the freaking Argonaut, so I am a detective, yo. So stay calm and investigate the scene. And there's a picture of Cthulhu here for some reason. I approve, but I'm sort of like wondering why. I've illustrated a stunningly accurate portrait for a client, but they, why is it capitalized, refused to pay me for my work as we conducted. What should I do? Okay, find out why they refused to pay me, resolve the conflict, steal treasure greater than the value of the compensation owed me from their home. The middle option seems always to be stealing something. Convince their nemesis to join me with me to gain revenge upon them. Okay, I like this. Like, it sounds a bit excessive, but I like this. So let's convince their nemesis to join me. I stand before an old two-door apartment. I knocked on the door to room 102, but nobody answered me. I'm wondering if a friend of mine who might have gone missing is at home or not. What should I do? Okay, so find a spare hidden key or pick lock. Yeah, the middle option almost always is some criminal stuff. Hi, about being the Resident Evil system. I do like, I guess I don't wanna, try to min max too much, and I don't know what is the optimal min maxing anyway. But I like the idea of just finding the key. That's very adventure game-ish, point and click adventure game. Find the key. I returned to the school building during the night because I left my homework in my desk in class. But just as I was about to unlock the door, I saw a stranger in the classroom. What should I do? Um, I think the stranger is sus. So I could keep my distance, run, or tell a wonderful joke, but I run immediately. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is always, you get investigation, alacrity, or charisma. I wanna run. After I got shit faced with my friends last night, I woke up with a hangover the next day and found that there was a corpse in the midst of our snoring pile. What should I do? So the options are: notice that the corpse is still wearing shoes, take them off for her and place them at the entrance where they belong. Twist and turn a bit so that you're not touching the corpse anymore and go back to sleep. So weird. And take a selfie of everyone on the ground. I like this. This sounds very Japanese or something. Take off the shoes of the corpse and put them outside. My love is about to commit suicide by jumping from the edge of the roof. What should I do? Yeah, I remember this. This is sort of funny. So the options are: notice that the cops are approaching and try to delay her through a conversation, but to no avail. Run over, grab her, but to no avail, and tell her that you want to be together with her as you head into the future, but to no avail. Yes, so it's always no avails. But so how do we want to fail? Mm, okay, this is a bit too common. If doesn't even um, succeed, so I don't like this option. I guess I'll tell you want to be together with her as you head in the future. I just think the way it's the sentence is formulated is a bit awkward, with her as you head into the future. Like, I don't know. It's clearly translated. I think this game is actually Chinese, not Japanese originally. And yeah, Now the numbers here are a bit messed up, but investigation 6, it's mixed with the A, and alacrity 4, and charisma 5, I guess, and we don't have temporary points yet. About properties. Investigation represents the ability to discern contradictions. This includes contradictions in testimonials, contradictions in spacetime, contradictions between knowledge and behavior, and contradictions between reality and physical law. Raising this ability allows Run to discern tiny contradictions accurately, point them out, and pick up on minor clues to reconstruct the truth. Charm represents the ability to discern emotions. This includes empathizing with the emotions of others, manipulating the feelings of others, attracting the love of others, and understanding the feelings of others. Raising this ability allows Ran to take to social interactions like a fish to water and to manipulate others into willingly sacrificing anything for her. Alacrity represents the ability, not agility, to coordinate mind and body. This includes agility and speed, manual dexterity, sharpened reaction time, skillful lockpicking, and escaping disaster. Raising this ability allows Run to rapidly react to unexpected situations, unmake man-made obstacles, and achieve the avoidance of obstacles or the seizing of opportunities. Carpe diem, seize the day. Run nodded. Run. She felt that her personal information had been greatly improved now. But she was still a bit hesitant. Did she perhaps need to rethink her recollections? No, I guess it. If I want to re-roll my stats, as it were, but I guess this is fine. I don't know what is the good or optimal stat collection, but I do, like having lots of investigation. It sounds good. Ron decided not to recollect any further. She flipped the notebook to its rear cover. On the inside of the rear cover were a few miniature ring sleeves holding three long strip-shaped bookmarks. Ron pulled out one of those bookmarks and placed it into the first page of the notebook. I've recorded the term bookmark, and now that all the necessary preparations have been made, she closed the notebook and placed it back into her jacket. So can I read the notebook here? So term. This looks like Yogg-Sothoth or something. Not sure. Okay, bookmark. An item which stores Run Ibuki's memories in the notebook, allowing the achievement of a certain truly astonishing feat, details of which have been lost due to Run Ibuki's memory loss. Uh, okay, however, Run has already expanded the original bookmark. At the moment, only imitation bookmarks are available, which are only capable of creating memory backups. Not quite sure what this means, to be honest. Okay, so characters, notes, prologue. Okay, we are still in. Leave here as soon as possible. Find me Sakura, pitch black, kidnapped. I'm wearing school uniform, not hungry either. Winter uniform. Okay. I guess this is just, yeah, useful notes. Okay, let's try to go back to the game. Okay, I guess I can save because I don't know if it's gonna crash or something at some point. So okay, so close the notebook. Ran used her phone to illuminate the ceiling. The glowing screen immediately drove away all the darkness, and she soon found that there was a ring-shaped lock keeping the ceiling locked from the inside. She reached out and easily picked the ring lock, and was just about to push open the ceiling when she grew hesitant. Rana realized that she had no idea what was waiting for her out there. Moving recklessly might plunge her into an even more dangerous situation. And keeping the lock to a tiny basement such as this inside the basement itself seemed ridiculous at best. You didn't keep someone confined in a room by locking that room from the inside. Ran couldn't help but wonder what the mastermind which brought her to this place wanted from her. She pulled her hand back from the handle and turned off the flashlight on her cell phone, leaving only the dim light of the screen itself. Hugging her legs, she leaned against the wall and stared at the phone's wallpaper. It was a selfie of Ranibuki and a different girl with the exact same school uniform. Probably, her girlfriend, Sakura, whatever her name was. That girl was her long lost love, An Sakura, who'd been missing for 4 years. Ah, it's 4 years. Ranibuki closed her eyes, letting the memories she'd made with her love wash over her. Even though she couldn't recall many of her memories clearly anymore, she could still remember everything about the two of them as though it just happened. Remembering the way their shared story had ultimately ended, she raised her hand without hesitation. She moved herself back over to the ring lock from before. Then she pushed the ceiling open slightly so that there was just a crack from which she could carefully peer out at the area around. Ice cold air flowed into the underground chamber. Ran shivered a little and exhaled a cloud of steam. Outside, she saw a lightless hallway where wooden flooring met mottled walls. The hallway didn't seem all that wide. It'd been a long time since Ran had seen such an old wooden building as this. Ran guessed that she was perhaps in some sort of shack in the middle of the woods at the moment. Her heartbeat remained wild despite the progress she'd made, and the veins at the temples of her face continued to pulse forcefully. Do people have two temples? I thought it's like only one, forehead temple, or it's like the sides of the forehead. I guess they're temples. Okay, I guess that makes sense. It just sounds a bit odd expression to me. Maybe it's just me. Anyways, she had a skull splitting headache and couldn't help but keep blinking. She needed to find a safe place and restabilize the rising pressure. If at all possible, she didn't want to have to eat any more paper. Okay, so I guess she has been eating paper and just like, okay, is it because she didn't have anything else to eat for a while, or what does it mean? Ran took a deep breath and scrunched her eyes a few times and pushed the entire ceiling open. That probably says Chrono Jotter in Chinese there, but especially the font is really, wacky. So my Chinese is not very good, and the font it makes it even more difficult to understand. Okay, sprawled on the edge of the exit, she craned her neck and surveyed her surroundings. A wooden hallway appeared before Ran's eyes. Toward the right of the hallway, there were clearly a row of standard-sized classrooms. With both hands, Ran pushed herself up from the floorboards, bringing herself back up to ground level. She looked towards both ends of the hallway. She didn't detect any traces of anyone skulking on either end. The lifeless darkness seemed to accentuate the chill of the hallway. Every breath Ran took made her lungs hurt like they were being frozen over. Okay. So, how cold is it? Though the windows remained immobile thanks to the wooden grill holding them in place, Ron could still hear the freezing wind howling outside the room. Ron leaned against the window and stared outside blankly. She couldn't figure out how she was connected to this dilapidated school at all. She'd escaped a small mystery only to find herself in the midst of a larger one. The pressure mounting against Ron was starting to strain her limbs, and not even the ice-cold air could stem her sweating. With a trembling hand, she tried to wipe her sweat away. Even though she was missing many of her memories, Ran Ibuki was somehow certain that she was no stranger to anomalous events like this. But she couldn't remember any of the specifics. All she could remember was that each of those events had been miserable experiences for her. And that each event had also been closely linked to her quest to find Anne Sakura somehow. Alright, I should come up with a way to get out of here so I can keep looking for Miss Sakura. It bothers me calling her Miss Sakura. It should be, Sakura-san or something. Or Sakura-chan. Sakura-tan. Ranibuki decided to stop wasting time and marched forward. Okay, so we can look back at the underground chamber. We have investigation 2, so to check past. I guess if our investigation was only 1, we'd have to use a temporary point to boost it. I think that's how it, works. That instead of die rolls or something, if you don't have enough of some skill, you can use temporary points. And of course, you only have limited amount of them. But this looks like you have to pass it so to continue the game. So let's look at the back at the underground chamber. Some choices will require that your attributes reach a certain threshold before you can pick them. Once your relevant attribute reaches at the threshold, the check is automatically passed. Yeah. While the relevant attribute is insufficient, the number of points you need to have in that attribute will be displayed instead. If you possess any usable temporary points, the option to use temporary points will appear as well. Temporary points can be spent to raise your attributes temporarily for the duration of this choice only. After your choice has been made, the attributes you raised will return to normal. Click on People in the notebook. Click on Run Ibuki. Okay, yeah. Here you can see the number of temporary points you currently possess. Every 5 times you encounter a choice that requires an attribute check, you gain 1 temporary point. Okay. I was thinking, there would be few points in the game when you refresh all of them. But okay, I guess this is interesting system. Look back at the underground chamber. Suddenly, Ran realized something. If this was just a school, why would it have such a bizarre, tiny underground chamber in the first place? Maybe the teachers were into some kinky business. Holding that question in her head, she turned back to look towards the basement she'd just escaped, only to find an ordinary floor there, without the slightest hint of a hinge or crack. Terror instantly rose into her heart. She quickly rushed back to the basement's original location, but tripped over her own legs in her rush and slammed to the floor. She didn't care though. Going along with the fall, she pressed herself onto the floor and tried to pry the floor open with her fingernails, but there were no cracks to be found, no leverage to be had. The wooden floor had become seamless, solid hole, as though it were the door to a vast vault, unbudging and immovable. Ran slammed her fists onto the ground. On the ground, the only response she received was a heavy thump, indicating that the ground underneath was definitely solid rather than hollow. The basement's gone! How? Unrelenting Run continued in vain to find a hidden seam in the wooden boards. All of her attempts were met with defeat. Run stared with wide eyes in the face of this impossibly ordinary floorboard. The last frayed stand of sanity that she had maintained began to break down. She began to claw at her head repeatedly, trying to alleviate the stress she was under. The more mysterious and unresolved situation she had to face at once, the greater that stress would grow, she knew. The disappearance of her beloved had been bad enough for her condition, and now incomprehensible situations were showing up one after another. At last, the disappearance of the basement had become the straw that broke the camel's back, and Ran's condition swallowed up her thoughts like an avalanche of snow. Sakura-san, help me! My mouth began to twitch, trying to also kick and rumble, trying to stop the foreign masses from spilling forth from within. But I had to open my mouth, I had to drive them away, I had to drive them away. What? Okay. Foreign masses. Is this making some political statement about immigration? Sakura-san, save me. The pain in my head, the torment of my stomach spasming as I dry heaved, brought me to my knees. My cell phone fell from its pocket and struck to the ground, and its screen lit up. Sakura-san. I twisted so that I faced the floor, clawing at my hair and bringing my legs as far in as I could. It was those memories, that blame, that loneliness which tore at me. They birthed phantasms, opened their mouths and spoke, forced me to depart from the paths of well trodden common sense and drown my reason into the black magma beside me. Stress, fear, the unknown energized them, empowered them, made them grow ever more rampant, until they were on the verge of taking away my everything. But, Sakura-san, with my back bent and fists clenched, the notebook fell out of my jacket, splayed open on the floor, revealing a blank page. And the periphery of my vision I glimpsed it, that pale yellow page, like the softest of bed sheets, the finest of meat delicacies, but more than either of those to me, it was most like the tender smoothness of Sakura-san's skin. Without realizing, my fingers had already reached the page's edge, slowly but steadily, as though a magnetic force was pulling them closer and closer. Please wait a moment. My son is in the other room and he wants attention. I'll bring him to the same room. Okay, I'm back. Um, the moment they touched the page, a familiar sense of safety and an overwhelming impulse of impending redemption washed over me. My fingers tore a small piece from the page, crumbled it into a small ball, and threw it into my mouth. Without even bothering to chew, I swallowed it directly into my throat. So, what's with the eating the notebook? Is it like some weird ritual thing or something? After a long silence, Ron Ibuki finally stood back up, leaning on the wall for support. I should be able to hold on a little while longer. Now, let's go. So, where to next? First, first floor of old school building. Okay. In investigation mode, click on the arrows to continue forward and leave the current region. So yeah, there is actually some movement in this, unlike Many visual novel games, I do believe you don't get to move at all yourself, basically. Regions can contain multiple clickable areas. Move the mouse to search for areas that can be investigated. That's my son. He's sitting in my lap and he wants to join the stream clearly. Areas which have been fully investigated will be marked as investigated. Clicking on them again will allow you to reread their contents. So I guess I have to. Yeah, I don't have many options. Hallway is so dark that it's a bit frightening. Let's keep going. Leaning against the window on the left side of the hallway, Ron looked outwards to assess the structure of the schoolhouse. She could see that the hallway terminated at a large gate ahead. The gate faced her directly, in fact. She considered the shape of the schoolhouse and decided that so long as was the architect had any common sense whatsoever, this hallway would definitely turn left eventually so that it could connect to the front gate. Ran sniffed a bit, letting the cold air of the hallway pour into her lungs once again. This time it didn't hurt. She merely shivered a little instead, her nerves sharpened by the chill. She now felt like she was in excellent condition. Her heartbeat had stabilized, her mind was agile. Eating a page always brought Ran into an elevated state like this, like a post-workout athlete who just drank a refreshingly cold beverage. So yeah, I guess it's either it's like some, psychological trick to eat the pages to, maintain her sanity, or there's some, strange stuff going on. It's not the death note, it's the food note. Now that both body and mind were in top condition again, it was time to deal with the situation at hand. She looked all around and noticed that the design of the schoolhouse seemed rather antiquated. Diagonal wood struts supported the ceiling, and the windows were fixed in place by wooden latch bars which prevented them from being opened. The walls were yellowed with age and coated with cracks. Clearly, this schoolhouse had been built a long time ago. As, as Ran walked, she gently ran her hand along the wall on the side of the classroom, feeling the texture of the surface. The rough sensation from her fingertips reminded her of the first time she touched a notebook. She'd given great attention to the slightly grainy texture on the page. For some reason, doing so heartbeats pay, had given her heartbeat's pace a healthy increase, as though she'd been caressing her lover's supple waist. Ran shook her head and redirected her attention to the present. Not far down, she saw that the hallway took a left turn. Oh, you don't like the game I'm playing? Scattered moonlight shone down from the left there. It felt unrealistic to her for a moment, like it was an artificially glowing indicator right out of a video game. Placed to mark the objective. Very subtle. But she picked up the pace and ran towards the bend in the hallways, anyways. When Ran finally arrived at the gate to the school building, she found 5 racks of shoe boxes. Typical for a school, most of them thoroughly empty. Yeah, these things. Like at least in Japan, they have to leave their shoes there at school and then like put on some school shoes, I believe, or slippers, something like that. Ran wove between the shoe cabinets and found that only Only the third row of one of the cabinets held any shoes. Exactly seven pairs. Ah, so does it mean there's like seven other people here, or six other people, and one pair is for us? Though the plaques on the shoe cabinets didn't have any real names on them, just numbers, Arabic numerals from 1 to 7. So this school only has 7 students right now. Ron wondered if she should stay here longer to investigate these shoes, or if she should just leave through the main gate as soon as she could. She quickly came to a conclusion. Her top priority was getting out of here, not solving the mystery of the school or whatever. Ron approached the main entrance and pressed down on the door handle. The door opened compliantly. No lock existed to prevent Ron from advancing. Main entrance is not locked either. Ron has updated her notes. Maybe I will do a save. Yeah, we're still in the prologue, of course. Ron pushed the front gate. The front gate opened. The cold wind blowing from outside the room made it hard for her to open her eyes. It was already November, and Ron. Hey, it is November now as well. It's the 1st of November. Whoa. It was already November, and Ron, who was only wearing a winter uniform, was so cold she started hugging herself to stay warm. She advanced slowly, hugging her own shoulders. The sound of the wind mixed with the rustling of the leaves seemed to accentuate the courtyard's darkness. Even though she'd activated the flashlight mode on her phone, she still couldn't see the path clearly. Looking around, Ron was barely able to make out the silhouettes of the buildings. Accompanied by the howling wind and the swaying grove, she felt like the buildings themselves were beginning to writhe as well. Ron pressed on. The sound of the wind grew louder and louder until she could no longer hear her own footsteps. The cold, the darkness, and the slowly accumulating stress that had all made her quite frustrated. But she had made it outside, and now all she needed to do to escape was find the school gates. I've recorded a new recall point. At least I've gotten outside. Where should I go from here? Okay, then we're at the atrium. The wind is so strong that I can barely keep my eyes open. Okay. Campus deaths. No. There's the gate. Schoolhouse. Okay. Gymnasium. Okay, I can highlight these things. Okay, can I go to the gate? Ran saw ahead of her an open clearing with good visibility. Unobstructed by any building, she stared at it and realized that she could see a short wall. Clearly, the school gates were over there. The frustration in Ran's heart cleared instantly. Picking up her pace, she ran towards the gates. But upon reaching the gates, Ran was forced to stop. Beneath her feet, an old dirt road stretched out horizontally, while ahead laid an endless expanse of shrubbery, trees, and muddy wetlands. Yeah, if you don't have a, a herring, trees and shrubberies can be quite of a nuisance. Ran didn't dare venture into the dark swamp like that. By the light of her phone, she saw that the road under her feet led into silent darkness in both directions. She pulled at her hair for a few moments before turning back to the school. Let's wait for morning before I head out. Okay, this is investigated. Nice. Okay. So we came from here, right? We haven't investigated the whole thing, I think. Let's go to the gymnasium. Ran approached the massive arc-shaped silhouette in the darkness, guessing that it was probably the gymnasium. If she got lucky, perhaps she'd be able to find a room where they store the gym equipment and spend the night on a soft workout mat. Thinking of this, Ran shielded her eyes from the howling cold wind with a hand and jogged over to the main entrance of the gymnasium. The doors weren't locked either. Ran pressed her hands on to the doors, forcefully pushed them open. The, res- the resultant creaks echoed in the empty gymnasium. Ran felt like the sounds were cutting into her very eardrums. Ran walked into the gym. It was terribly dark. She groped her way around the walls, couldn't find a light switch. As Ran raised her head and looked towards the distant, unreachable ceiling, a wordless fear grew in her heart. That, plus the foreboding atmosphere of the unoccupied gymnasium, the chill that seemed to seep into her body here, left Ran shivering. She decided that in comparison, even the cold wind outside possessed more vitality. And so she retraced her steps, closed the gym door, and returned to the courtyard, rubbing her shoulders and looking for somewhere better to go. Okay, then let's go to the depths of the campus. Deeper into the bowels of the nasty campus. A campus this large has to have a dormitory, right? Let's try to get in, find an empty room, and lay low for the night. Worst comes to worst, I could just head back to school building and rip down some curtains to use as blankets. Ran looked all around, remembering that she'd seen a lone house somewhere in the darkness not long ago. Usually, an isolated building far away from the main campus like that would either be a lab building or a dormitory. Ron was hoping it was the latter. With high expectations, she advanced towards it. Suddenly, though, a flickering light appeared with a completely different direction. Ron halted her steps and stared at the slowly brightening light. That light's coming from a house, isn't it? Someone's turned the lights on. Is it a student? The light's appearance was so timely that Ran Ibuki couldn't help but wonder whether or not the light was actually the shining lure of some kind of anglerfish. But Ran wanted to know if there was anybody else here. Even if it risked a conflict, she felt an encounter with another person would at least help shine some light on her situation. As long as she was sufficiently careful, she'd be fine. After all, this wasn't even close to the most dangerous situation she'd ever been in, and now was no time for cowardice. Ran touched her notebook again, giving herself a quiet word of encouragement, then ran towards the light. The place that Ran had arrived at in her pursuit of the light had indeed met her expectations. It definitely looked like the kind of place where accommodation could be found. Most incredibly of all, it was a Western style building. It was an unwise decision to simply barge into the building without any intel. But the frigid winds didn't leave Ran hesitant for too long. She quietly pushed open the door and headed directly into the dormitory building without taking off her shoes. Ran could feel her cheeks and ears frantically twitching in nervousness. Her eyes darted unnaturally all over for fear of missing the slightest movement. Carefully, she shuffled her feet until she came to a fork in the hallway. Towards the left were stairs that led to a second floor, and on the right was. As soon as Ran looked to the right, she froze immediately and then quickly ducked behind the corner wall. She'd heard the sound of footsteps and pouring water from the right side. Poking her head out slightly, she looked towards it. Okay, my son, who is sitting in my lap, is farting or perhaps defecating. Okay, On the right was an open kitchen. Inside it, a female student stood facing away from Ran. She was quite tall and held a bottle of fruit tea in her hands, which she was pouring into a cup. Ran observed the female student carefully. Looks like she is not armed. Hard to tell how fit she is due to the uniform, but most likely just an ordinary civilian. Hair seems a bit wet, probably just finished showering. She seems to be close to my age, could consider initiating contact. But from her perspective, what would she make of me? A thief, home invader, or an escaped convict? Yes, escaped convict girl in a school uniform. Ron turned around, leaned against the wall. Whether or not the students were the ones who locked me in the basement, either way, I'm definitely not supposed to be here right now. Even if I'm just a victim, the students' natural reaction to a stranger showing up in their dormitory would be alarm and hostility. Not to mention the real possibility that it was the students who locked me up in the first place. I should reconsider and find a controlled approach that maximizes my chances of. Oi! Is she British? The female student suddenly appeared at the intersection, startling Ron into letting out a scared gasp as their eyes met. As Ron had predicted, she didn't look pleased at all. Looking at her ear piercings and the fangs that occasionally peeked out from her mouth as she spoke, for some reason, Ron found herself reminded of the feral cats that lived under her apartment. Yeah, there's like a little bit of fang. So is she like a low level vampire or is it just, I don't know. Well, I guess some people can have big fangs like that. I don't know. She was taller than Ran, though, and she cast a shadow on Ran's face just by standing over her. It made Ran feel diminished and stressed. A few stray memories of Ran's miserable experiences at school flashed through her mind unbidden. She quickly blinked them away and focused on the reality before her. Who are you? What are you doing here? Look like she doesn't know about my situation. Let's see where a conversation gets me. Um, I guess since we succeeded in noticing her serpentine bracelet, so is she part of some Lamia snake cult or something? And we cannot calm her down without using temporary points. So let's use this one first. Your bracelet is an Ouroboros, isn't it? What does it mean? I'm asking you who you are. Stop wasting my time. She's so fierce. My name is Ran Ibuki. First name Ran, last name Ibuki. But we're all speaking Chinese here, so you can also call me Lin Xinlan. So I guess that's the Chinese reading for the kanji for Ran Ibuki or something. The hell are you talking about? The female student scrunched up her brow and stared at Ran. How could I possibly be speaking Chinese? You're speaking Japanese right now, aren't you? There was no question that the sounds Rand perceived from her and the female student's mouths were both most utterly ordinary Chinese. What's going on? I'm clearly speaking Chinese. She's also. This is very meta level because I'm speaking English pretending it's Chinese, pretending it's Japanese. Let's try testing this. Kore koso nihongo de wa nai deshouka? This is actual Japanese, isn't it? As soon as Ran spoke those words, she clasped her hands to her mouth. She'd spoken those words with Japanese grammar and pronunciation, and she was certain that she'd felt her mouth from the correct shapes for such. But what she heard was completely unremarkable Chinese coming out of her mouth. It was like there was a parasite living in her mouth, controlling her mouth for her. The orders given by her brain and movements of her muscles were in alignment, and yet the results had turned out completely different from her expectations. It's time for something completely different. She'd never experienced such an incongruity before, and it left her terrified. She held a hand to her forehead, her expressions anxious. Hey, I can call you Ibuki, right? Why'd you get quiet all of a sudden? Nothing, just yeah, call me Ibuki. You? The girl seemed rather confused about rapid, not stupid shifts, rapid shifts in demeanor, but soon loosened her brows and spoke. My name is Sayoruno. I'm a student here. I've recorded the profile of Sayoruno. After meeting a new character, relevant information about the character will be recorded in a notebook. Uh, yes, so we can go to the book and click on the. Yes, okay. Oh, we can also see her stats. Okay, that's interesting. A sketch. Uh, very. Oh, no, no. Handsome face. Sai had apparently fully relaxed her guard and returned to the rhythm of her ordinary life, which surprised Ran quite a bit. Whoa, no. Okay, okay. I have to. I'll be right back. My son wants some attention. Okay, let's see the character Sayoruno. So investigation for alacrity 7. So she's a thief if she has so high alacrity and charisma 5. My son doesn't like the character clearly because he's being very whiny. Uniforms styled after sailor outfits with skirts. First student encountered by Ran Ibuki at the school speaks bluntly, holds no hostility towards Ran. Okay, how do we know she holds no hostility? Hey. Yeah, what? Okay, she loves swimming and visits the swimming pool whenever she gets the chance. While submerged, she feels she can almost hear her younger sister's voice. Okay, portrait. Voi, voi, voi. Okay, okay, no need. Very handsome face, beautifully muscled arms. She's got a little fan. Ouroboros bracelet, possibly a tuni. I think it's maybe. Excuse me. My son thinks he's a better voice actor than me or read story reader. But yeah, I think tuni is like tuni bio. It's like. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, my wife is taking care of my son, who is perhaps he got hungry or something. He is only a few months old. So anyway, so chunibyo, it's a Japanese term for like the sophomore in like junior high school, and usually, according to this concept, like, people of that age, they have let's say edgy fantasies, like, I have a demon, the soul of a demon attached to my eyes, and that's why I have to wear the eye patch, and if I release the take off the eye patch, the demon will be um, released upon the world. I can never do that, but the demon also gives me superpowers or some stuff like that. So I think this is what it means. Okay, let's get back to the game. So I had apparently fully relaxed her guard, returned to the rhythm. Yeah, okay, I read that. Her reaction to the sudden appearance of a stranger in her dormitory had been quite underwhelming. Suddenly, Ran started to worry about whether Sai had already grown used to this sort of thing. Had there been many past cases where somebody had intruded into the school on accident and run into Sai at the dorms and was then never seen again? Well, if that was the trope at hand, then the next plot beat would probably involve running into a bunch of other people in the same situation until finally, when dawn broke, only Ran and the final girl were able to escape. Okay. She couldn't help but laugh at the third rate horror movie plot that appeared in her mind. Well, it's pretty late. You should get to bed. I'll introduce you to everyone else tomorrow morning. You can sleep in my room tonight. Uh huh. Your room? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? Well, everyone else here has a roommate. My room's the last one left with a vacancy, that's why. Ron nodded, even though that wasn't really what Ron was asking. Yeah, she was thinking of something smutty. I see you're fine with that, though? Ron took a quick look over the layout of the area while she talked. There was a dining table in the open kitchen. On the other side of the dining table, a set of stairs connected to the first floor with the second. Under those stairs, a passageway led deeper into the dormitory. Ron took the opportunity to memorize the layout of the area. It was clearly a spacious building. Each room had multiple people in it, and Sai Yoruno's room was the only one with an empty bed. That implied that the number of students here might be greater than 7. I'm a stranger to you, aren't I? I thought you'd be more cautious around me. And me? Why should I trust a stranger like her? In response, I gulped down the last of her fruit tea before stepping into the kitchen and sorry, excuse me, and saying, "You're the same age as me, and you don't seem like a bad sort." She turned on the faucet and began to wash her newly emptied cup. The water made a pleasant splashing sound as it passed over the sides of the cup, flowed into the sink. Before long, Sai turned the faucet off and started wiping her hands. Unless you're telling me you really are here to cause trouble? Of course not, I'm a decent person. Yeah, she's schizophrenic and whatever, the notebook says about her. The way that Ron spoke with resolve made Sai laugh. Well, there you go then, come with me. Don't forget to take your shoes off. Okay, this is weird. head upstairs with Jorno. Now I'm sort of sus like, well, this is probably if you go to the, outside of the forest, werewolf is gonna eat us or something. But maybe if you go with her, she's gonna chop off her head. Ran returned to the entrance of the building and took the opportunity to inspect every single inch of the shoe cabinet when she went to drop off her shoes. Sai, meanwhile, simply climbed up halfway up the stairs, took a leaning position against the guardrail, and calmly waited for Ran to finish doing her thing. Ran counted the number of shoes. There were 7 pairs of shoes. Most of them were various kinds of student appropriate shoes, but a pair of short boots stood alone at the bottom of the cabinet. So there really are only 7. Oi, are you still not done? Sai's yell startled Ran a little, and she reflexively scrunched up her shoulders as she answered Sai. Sorry, I'll be right there. Ran ultimately closed the cabinet without putting her own shoes in. Rather, she left them at the main entrance, toes pointing outwards, and followed Sai upstairs to the second floor. The second floor hallway wasn't long. On the left was a balcony from which you could see the bottom floor. On the right, you could quickly walk to the end of the hall. At the end were 4 doors, none of which were marked by nameplates, exactly the right amount of rooms for 7 people, if Joruna was telling the truth about having a room to herself. As far as the layout on the first and the second floors went, the building felt less like a student dormitory and more like an ordinary civilian residence. Sai pulled open the outermost door and gestured for Ron to head in first. Maybe I'll save. Is there really only 3 save slots? I think, games like this usually have more, right? Ran nodded, entered, and immediately began inspecting everything without so much as asking permission, while Sai got to work spreading a bedsheet out on the lower bunk. The amenities in the dorm room were rather simple. Besides the rather simplistic posters on the wall, there was only standardized furniture and little in the way of additional decoration. Yes, it's very generic. These paintings, it's like, are you an NPC or is this like some IKEA set or something? Ran wondered if this was because of the school's rules or if it was just due to Sai's own personality. After that, she took a few more laps around the room before settling by the windows. The endless darkness outside the windows melded seamlessly into the night sky, as though a vast curtain veiled the whole dormitory. Alright, that's enough rummaging around for you. Time to get in that lower bunk and sleep. Okay, thanks. After that, Sai didn't say much. She climbed to the top bunk and used the switch near the head of the bed to turn off the lights. Seeing the situation, Rang took her phone out and used it to light the path to her bed. She took off her socks and outerwear and laid down on the bed. Its warmth warded away the cold, letting her finally relax fully. The situation had developed quite well, much better than Ran had been imagining. She quietly looked forward to being able to leave this place tomorrow with the help of other students and set off once again on her journey to find Ann Sakura. Ran pulled up her blankets and tucked in. The winter blankets are so cozy, I don't know why, but talking to Yoruna was relaxing for some reason. Thanks to her, my situation improved a lot. I could really thank her again. Yoruna, I shut it. Sleep. Okay. Ran opened her eyes, tossing and turning on the bed. The unfamiliar environment and ceaseless mysteries continued to torment her mind. Even though the pain which emanated from both her brows and her brain reminded Ran that she'd reached truly dangerous levels of fatigue, she still couldn't get to sleep. Ran rolled over and turned her phone on, hoping to find some comfort in her photos of Ann Sakura. Now I feel even worse. Ran closed her eyes, and against her will, the memories of the time she'd spent together with Ann Sakura began forcibly replaying themselves before her eyes. The beautiful past made the painful present even more unbearable. Ran clenched her brows tightly, but did nothing to stop this venom, sweet like honey, from spreading all over her. Hugging her shoulders, she trembled. Sakura-san, where are you? Fatigue and drowsiness finally overcame nostalgic memory, and Ran gradually fell asleep with dream-born tears flowing from her eyes. She's surely dreaming about Ann Sakura. Always hide here alone. What happened? Yes, Miss Sakura, I have been always been alone until you found me. Let me wipe away your tears. Tell me what happened. I'm sorry, Miss Sakura. I can only cry. I can't even speak clearly. I'm scared of pain, scared of being bullied. Don't worry. From now on, I'll be with you. I know, Miss Sakura, but I still want to be the most important person to you. I'm glad you can say that really happy. I am too, Miss Sakura. Even if the venom that cannot be avoided has spread all over my body, we will never be separated. Wait, your hands are clumsy. You hurt me. Miss Sakura's expression is different from usual. It must be something that I can only see. Now that you're a special something, but run from now on, we'll never. Of course, Miss Sakura, Miss Sakura. Yes. Miss Sakura, where are you? Without you, where are you? Come back soon. Where are you? And where are you? Sakura, Sakura, Miss Sakura, come quickly. I'm here, don't leave me. I want to see you, Anne. Alright, time to get up. Yeah, but now I saw the kanji for the name of An is like means peace, like Tien An men, like that. So it shouldn't be two N, but whatever. Oh, time to get up. But I think that sequence was silly and cringy, but silly in a good way, I guess. After being called awake, Ran opened her eyes forcefully. Turning her head in a stupor, she stared at Sayoruna, who'd already put her uniform on. And she looked at the overhead bedboard. Only now were her memories of the previous night starting to reawaken. Ran sat up on the bed, her back bent and her mind still slightly muddled, trying to retain the voice of her love from the dream just a little longer. Yeah, we'll save again. Come on, only 3 slots. Come on, man. But soon it all dissipated, and all that was left before Ran's eyes were a stranger and a stranger's room. She looked towards her own jacket, remembering the corner she'd torn from the notebook yesterday. Then she shook her head. It wasn't time yet. After all, after Anne had disappeared, she'd already been forced to eat 18 whole pages out of her notebook to stifle the increasingly serious symptoms of her condition. I'm still sort of struggling with that. Like, why is she eating pages from her notebook? But it calms her down or something. Are you okay? Ran shook her head and stared with side eyes at the changes the size head that she couldn't ignore. Ran has updated the profile of Sai Yoruna. You looking at something? Nothing, I just a cool hairstyle. Somehow I get the impression you're not exactly complimenting me. Whatever, just get up already. Yeah, I think the hairstyle is lame. Ran took a long, lazy stretch. She noticed that Sai was holding a small baggie of something. She shook it a few times and Ran's eyes tracked it as it swung back and forth like a pendulum. You can stop staring now. That's the bag for my swimsuit. I'm planning on getting a swim in before the morning meetup. Swimming? There's a swimming pool here. No shit. What, do you think I'm going to backstroke across the courtyard? Now hurry and get up and come to the washstand with me. The person that's on duty for today should already have gotten up, so I'll have her keep an eye on you in my place from now on. Sure. I noticed it last night when I entered Yoruna's room as well. Despite how well furnished this place is, it doesn't have private bathrooms. I guess that means even the sinks where you brush your teeth are communal. Ran rolled out of bed, put her socks on, picked up her jacket and headed out of the room with Sai. Yawning, she pulled her jacket on as she walked. After she was done adjusting its color, she got her phone out. 6 o'clock. The screen showed that it was currently 6 exactly, quite early. She followed Sai, descending to the first floor and turning into a hallway next to the stairs. Soon Ran could hear the sounds of flowing water not too far away. Ran has updated her notes. Oh, Indo, you're on duty today, right? The person Sai had addressed as Indo turned with her hands crossed before her and made a light bow to Sai. Good morning, Yoruna-san. Yeah, perfect timing, Ben. I'm handing it over to you. Ibuki, come on over here. Get over here. Okay, boss. Ran quickly followed Sai, stepped to her side, preparing to meet Indo. But the moment she saw Indo, she paused. And on the other end, the one who had been called Indo reacted much more noticeably. She stared back and forth between Sai and Ran, apparently stuck speechless, only capable of making sounds of surprise. What are sounds of surprise? What's with you? Why is there a stranger? Yoruna-san, who is she? Calm down, Indo. Deep breath. Indo nodded forcefully, then started taking deep breaths as Sai had suggested. Indo apparently took the idea of deep breaths extremely seriously, practically flinging her head all the way behind her with every breath. Indo, huh? Like the character for Puppy. It does suit her. She's adorable. Pretty adorable. Okay, I'm getting the impression that Ran is really some sort of sex pest. Why she's wearing hakama though? And hakamas aren't usually supposed to have flowery decorations like that, are they? Looking closely, the overall design looks a bit similar to Yoruna's sailor style uniform. Okay, I'm calm now, calm. It's like a maple leaf, or is it like weed? You know, marijuana? Sai Yoruna smiled, gave the hairband on the back of Indo's head a light tussling up. Great, then I'm leaving the rest to you. Why don't you show Ibuki to the classroom, eh? Oh yeah, by the way, last night after I came back from swimming I noticed that the showers weren't getting any water. Make sure you let Asakura know about that when you get to class so that she can come fix it in the afternoon. So last night when Yaruno's hair was wet, that was because she'd just gotten back from showering at the swimming pool. Now, wouldn't that hairstyle cause trouble for her while she was swimming? How curious. Okay, Yoruna-san, I'll remember to pass it on. Sai nodded before turning to Ran and speaking. Good, so Ibuki, just stick with Indo and you'll be fine. Don't bully her or I'll beat you up. Where did you get that idea of me from? Sai laughed and then headed to the washstand to start brushing her teeth. Good morning, you're Ibuki-san, correct? That's right, my name is Ran Ibuki. Indo is speaking Chinese too, but if I ask her about it, I'm sure she'll have the same reaction that Yoruno did last night. And now there's the question of why Indo is wearing a hakama too. Maybe she's some kind of exception to the school rules? I'm Tama Indo. Nice to meet you, Ibuki-san. I've recorded the profile of Tama Indo. After Yoruno told, and my son is having a psycho fit, torturing my wife. After Yoruno told Indo to calm down, it was like a switch had been flipped. Her attitude has done a 180. Just like when Yoruno first met me last night. Here's some spare toothbrushes and cups. You can use these, Ibuki-san. As Tama spoke, she raised herself onto her toe tips and opened the cabinet behind the washroom mirror. Let's check her profile in the book. So Tama Indo, investigation 4, alacrity 4, charisma 7. Uniform style after a lantern hakama, impeccably polite to everyone with very controlled movements, tries to conceal her inferiority complex and tries to take the blame for everything around herself in order to avoid becoming an annoyance. Besides Miss Sakura's childhood pictures, I have never seen such an adorable little girl. Hair buns, adorable, she's so tiny, it's adorable lantern hakama, wearing hand bracelets, they're woven Shintoism shrine maiden. Yes, Miko. After a moment's hesitation, she took out a fresh toothbrush still sealed in its packaging and presented it to Ran with both hands. She turned around again and dug up a cup, which she washed several times under the faucet. Then, with her right hand holding the handle and her left hand supporting the base of the cup, she delivered the cup to Ran. So formal. By now, Sai had finished cleaning up. She gave Ran a pat on her shoulder and waved farewell to Tama before she departed for the dormitory steps. Is this like some, lesbian dating game? Or, I guess there is some sort of, dangerous mystery here too. Supposedly, it's supposed to be a horror game of some sort. The direction she was heading in was the opposite of that of the main entrance. Ran rinsed her mouth as she watched Sai depart, then she spat out the foam, cleaned off the cup and put it back on the washstand. But Tama didn't seem satisfied. She took Ibuki's cup and gave it a second washing before replacing it in the mirror. Well, now I just feel a bit embarrassed. Now, if you'll allow me to escort you to your classroom, Ibuki-sama. Oh, I mean Ibuki-san. What did she just call me? Tama instead of Sun. With a light smile on her face, Tama bowed slightly before placing her hands in front of herself and quickly stepping in front of Ran. Ran followed her to the entrance. Tama bent down, opened the bottommost shelf of the shoe cabinet. She took out a pair of short boots and sat down to methodically lace them on. Ran's shoes had long since molded themselves to her feet, so it didn't take more than a few seconds for her to slip them on. She waited next to the door for Tama to finish. Tama meticulously tied her shoelaces in exactly the proper configuration and made a few slight turns after she stood up, as if to confirm that she'd put the shoes on properly. After that was done, she tapped the ground with her shoe tips and made a slight bow towards the interior of the dormitory before she finally spoke to Ran. We updated profile. Thank you for your patience, Ibuki-san. Let us depart. I want to see how it's updated. Boots is ultra adorable. Okay. Yeah, save. Like, I have a feeling that something bad is gonna happen soon. Some nasty revelation or something. Ran nodded in agreement and the two left the dormitory together, heading towards the schoolhouse that Ran had just escaped the previous night. During the day, the courtyard looked quite plain and unassuming, much different from how ominous it had seemed last night. Ran walked quite slowly, following behind Tama, observing the distant mountain ranges and coarse soil under her feet, and the old wooden buildings around her. Suddenly, a thread of nostalgia rose in her, and she found herself thinking of the time she and Anne visited Anne's grandmother in the countryside. Anne Sakura's grandmother had a strange disposition and kept calling Ran a little raccoon for some reason. I assume it's gonna be tanuki and not raccoon. They're similar but different. Anyways, she was exceedingly gentle and kind with her granddaughter though. She would often wheel a little handcart by to bring them chilled watermelon while Ran and Anne were fishing next to the river. Though she always wound up eating Ran's portion herself somehow. I didn't really like being called Little Raccoon, but Miss Sakura said that raccoons were adorable, so I had no choice but to let her grandmother keep calling me that. Wait, what am I even doing? When Ran had followed Tama all the way to the vicinity of the schoolhouse, she halted and called out to Tama. Hold on, Indo! Almost let myself get caught up in the atmosphere here. I'm not here to attend school. Indo, I only stumbled into this school because I got lost. But I'd like to get out of here before one of your teachers catches me here. Could you tell me which way to the station from the gates? After hearing Ran out, Tama shook her head and opened her mouth to speak. I'm sorry, Buki-san, there are only 7 students here, no teachers. Tama smiled as if she'd just thought of something pleasant. Well, 8 now, including you, Ibuki-san. Ran furrowed her brows, not understanding what Tama meant. She decided not to scrutinize Tama's words, so she simply clawed a bit at her hair and gave up thinking about it. She'd already made up her mind last night in the school building that she didn't need to explain the mysteries of the school. As long as she could get out of here, it'd be enough. Okay, so there's no teachers in this school then? So how could you tell me where should I go if I want to leave? Ibuki-san, I'd like to help you, but it's impossible to leave right now. Ran narrowed her eyes. She figured it wouldn't be that easy. Still, if Ran could learn what the nature of the obstruction was, she'd be able to come up with a plan for it. Tama raised a hand and pointed towards northwest. If you leave the school and then turn left, there's a tunnel passage that will bring you to the nearby village. But there was an incident at the tunnel that caused a cave-in, so we can't leave through it, and there are no other ways out of the area. Ran's brows lifted at Tama's words. She instantly felt as though she was merely a step away from escaping the school. So that's how it is. That's not so bad. I was worried it'd be some kind of occult or supernatural situation. The fact that the exit exists at all is good news. It's just that it's blocked is all. Just wondering, like, it's probably some sort of supernatural stuff or time dilation, whatever. An accident. So when exactly did the tunnel get blocked? I don't know. We discovered the blockage a year ago. Are you serious? Whole year? Ron stared with wide eyes, Tama's words echoing in her head. Tama nodded. She apparently saw nothing wrong with her statement and instead looked curiously at Ran. Is something wrong, Ibuki-san? Of course there's something wrong with that. You said just now that the tunnel is the only way to get to the outside world from here. So none of you have gone home or talked to your families in a whole year? And if the road is blocked, then nobody can get in here, right? So what have you been eating? Are you telling me you had a year's worth of supplies stored in our school? Really, from the moment that the school showed up here, in a place that's so inconvenient to visit and so isolated from the other residential areas, the strangers should have been self-evident. I don't know. There's always been enough to eat at school. Ron couldn't help but let out a heavy sigh. Look, even disregarding the food thing, you're telling me the situation is that you all have basically been locked in here for a whole year. You don't think there's anything weird about that? Tama had broken eye contact with Ran and was looking straight down at the ground while nervously fidgeting with her fingers. I don't. Seeing Tama's reaction for a moment, Ran thought she was looking into a mirror. She quickly lowered her voice in contrition. Sorry, I just got a bit worked up, but you really aren't worried about being trapped here? I mean, calling it being trapped. We're supposed to stay at the school anyway until we graduate. I'm sure the tunnel will be fixed by then, so as long as we can leave by then, it will be fine. That's weird. Graduation, huh? But I'm sorry, Ibuki-san. Tama spoke timidly, interrupting Ran's thoughts. Can we hurry to the classroom? I'm afraid I won't have enough time to clean up. Tama's gaze slid all over the place nervously and unnaturally, trying to look anywhere other than Ran's eyes. Ran could practically hear the grinding sounds. It was like she and Tama were gears spinning in opposite directions so that their teeth now clashed against each other. Is this really the time for cleaning? Ran decided to capitulate and go along with Tama for now. Sorry. Let's go then. Yeah. No matter how you think about it, being trapped in a school for a whole year can't be called normal. Let's go ahead and meet the other students for now. See how they feel. With any luck, I'll find someone who wants to get out of here like I do. After they entered the school building, Ran had wanted to ask Tama whether she had any thoughts about the broken down staircase ahead of them. But the overly natural way that Tama had been behaving up to now made Ran think that even if she asked, Tama would only give some entirely inconsequential and irrelevant response. What was interesting though was that after Tama took off her short boots at the shoe racks and placed them into her cubbyhole, she actually took out a pair of black wooden clogs for use as indoor shoes. I assume the clogs are geta, the wooden sandals, not like Dutch style clogs, but the Japanese wooden sandals. And it looked like there wouldn't be any irritating clacks of wood clogs against wood flooring anytime in Tama's future. She walked in them with easy poise and utter silence, like she was taking a stroll on an early morning street free of other pedestrians. Ran guessed that maybe Tama possessed some special walking techniques or something. Like how in the movies the maids at traditional hotels could run down the wooden halls together all in a row without making any noises that might irritate a guest. Following Tama like this in the hallway, the difference between what she saw now and what she'd seen during the night made Ran feel that this place might not be so bad after all. In the past, she'd always arrived very early to school as well, and the school building from back then was just like the one here, empty and devoid of everything except her and the last night's air. And later on, a certain Aunt Sakura would join Ran at her side in the mornings like that. Sakura-san, just where are you? As Ran's brain spun a memory up for her, Tama, who was still ahead, suddenly stopped to pull out a red and black flip phone from an inner pocket on the upper half of her outfit. She opened the phone and tapped it a few times, then her eyes began to shine as she raised a hand to cover her giggles. Tama seemed like she was trying to type something in her phone and held it with both hands, tapping clumsily on the numpad with her thumbs. What is it? Something good happened? Oh, it's nothing. My roommate always sends me a message every morning after she gets up. So they have connection to their phones. Why can't they just, call outside? With fascinating content every time too. Tama smiled in self-evident bliss. Or maybe the, outside world has been destroyed. Maybe this is like limbo or something. Asakura-san is my roommate. I believe she's been mentioned before. Wait. Ran raised a hand, making a timeout gesture with it. You said you got a text? Yes, that's what they're called, right? It's that thing where I can see the words that Asakura-san says to me. Ran immediately pulled her own phone out of her pocket. She swiped over the screen only to find out the upper left corner continued to read no signal, clear as day. No signal. Indoor, can I see your phone? Please go right ahead. Tama presented her flip phone to Ran with both hands. The screen on Tama's phone read the exact same, though. No signal. It left her thoroughly vexed. Ran tapped her own phone number into the antique flip phone, but she only got a mechanical sounding female voice which informed her that she was unable to connect. Even more strangely, her phone, which definitely had a Japanese SIM card plugged into it, was emitting system error message noises in Chinese. Alright, sure. So the students' phones must have been modified in some way. Sorry for the hold up. Here's your phone back. Ran handed the phone back to Tama, who carefully returned it to its interior pocket. Ran couldn't help but feel like the phone and the Hakama Tama were made for a bizarre combination, even though the flip phone itself was quite outdated as well. I'm sorry, I don't understand much when it comes to how phones work. You don't need to apologize about that. How come you're always trying to apologize, Indo? We can talk about the phone thing later. Let's get going for now. Okay, I often make trouble for others because I don't know how to use my phone. So Ibuki-san's reaction made me worried I'd done something wrong again. The way she thinks is as adorable as the way she looks. I wish I could touch her hair buns. It's fine, it's my problem, not yours. Tama noted the two of them continued advancing down the hallway and quickly reached the classroom. Tama jogged all the way to the storage cabinet at the back of the classroom and opened it. She got out a broom and a dustpan and began to tidy up, starting from the rearmost row of desks. Let me help as well. Is there anything I can do? Sure, Ibuki-san. Thank you. Could you wipe off the window and blackboard with a rag, please? A dry rag will be fine. Okay. Ran approached the storage cabinet, taking the opportunity to investigate if there was anything noteworthy in the cabinet. She didn't find anything worth mentioning. Ran could only take up a white rag and start wiping off the blackboard at a measured pace. Class schedule. Ran noticed that there was a class schedule taped to the blackboard. Because visibility had been quite poor the previous night, it took Ran until now to notice it. She halted her work, started reading the schedule carefully. There were only 4 classes listed on it: language, mathematics, physics, chemistry. And there were only classes scheduled in the mornings. Afternoons were assigned to free activities for each of the 5 school days, apparently. Ran was actually starting to believe that there were only students at this school. No teacher would have ever assigned such a relaxed curriculum. After she finished cleaning off the blackboard, Ran raised her head, watching Tama's petite form scramble all over the room, cleaning things up. She suddenly felt like there was something strange about the classroom. By the way, Indo, why does the classroom have so many desks if you've only got 7 students here? Oh, that. Tama took a long breath, apparently very pleased with the fruits of her labor. It was like this when we showed up here. We thought about reorganizing, but the desks are pretty heavy, and moving them all would be a lot of effort. So we decided to just keep the place as it is, and we can use the spare desks as extras if we ever need them. Ran feigned apathy and nodded, thinking to herself. This explanation just barely makes sense. It's similar to the question of why the students are packed up to a room despite how large the dormitory building is. It's not that weird on its own, but there's got to be more reasonable ways to handle these things, right? But Ran looked at Tama, who was reorganizing the storage cabinet with her back to Ran, and opened her mouth to speak. So I could ask about the difference between those and your school uniforms, but I passed the charisma check, so of course tell Indo that your outfit suits her well. Ooh, recall points. I'm still not sure what they are. Is it like, if I die or something, I can come back or start from this point? Indo, that hakama looks wonderful on you. It really does. It goes really well with your hairstyle. Really, thank you, Ibuki-san. He. Tama set down her broom and she turned and raised her arm. She shook her wide sleeves towards Ran a few times. I was a little afraid to wear them at first, since it used to be that only the young mistresses were permitted to wear fine clothes like this. When I visited the instructor back then, I always had to wait by the window for the young mistresses' classes to end. I always wanted to wear clothes the way they did and attend school like them. Not to mention the lengths that the young mistress and I were forced to go to after that earthquake. It was terrible. What earthquake? Is it the one that sealed the entrance to the tunnel? In a departure from her usual restrained demeanor, Tama had begun to speak in a higher-pitched voice. She was clearly quite excited. That's why I'm so happy nowadays. My classmates are all so kind to me, so I even get to wear such fine clothes as these. Young mistress, and what did she mean exactly by not being allowed to wear fine clothes? Just what is Indo talking about? Indo, where did you live before you came to school here? Oh, over in Yokohama. What? Yokohama? Wait, what did you say about an earthquake? Your clothes, how could that be possible? Oh, new face. Let's see what we updated about. Okay, the Great Kondo earthquake. What? I'm just thinking, like, when was the Great Kanto earthquake? I'm not sure, because, like, there was some great earthquake in Kobe in the 90s, I think, but that's Kansai. That's a different earthquake. So I'm not quite. I can't say I remember when this was. Is there any new stuff about Yoru? Nice hair. Okay. Oh, new face. She's clearly some, S&M kind of girl. Someone suddenly shouted from the classroom door. Ran turned her head and saw a female student with her hands in her pockets, quickly stepping towards the blackboard. The female student grinned. She seemed quite interested in Ran. So, what's your name? Are you a transfer student? When did you get here? Ran immediately noticed an embroidered crest on her uniform's breast. It had clearly been sewn on after the fact rather than being the crest of the school itself. Before she could answer, though, another student entered the classroom. What is it, Aya? Did something? She looks a bit creepy, sort of. It's not Innsmouth look, but something. As soon as the latest arrival saw Ran, the smile on her face fell away immediately. Who are you? Why would there be anyone here other than ourselves? The female student who'd been addressed as Aya was circling Ran and scrutinizing her from head to toe. These two had different uniforms as well, though theirs are relatively more modern. So I guess the game is implying that these people here are from different time periods. It is, Chrono Jotter after all, so I guess there's some time distortion going on. Like maybe this is the intersection between different times, this school. With quite a unified design language nowadays. I'm Ran Ibuki. I found my way here after I got lost. Good morning, Tama-chan. Lost? What's this? Can I like... What's this? Second of the female students furrowed her brow a bit, staring at the run. I guess these two characters are talking in the background to each other. I guess sort of a cool idea. Good morning, Toyama-san. So she's Toyama. Oh, I already forgot her. Aya. Toyama Aya. The voices of people speaking around you will appear in form of speech bubbles in the upper right corner. The newest speech bubble will be indented further than the others until the next bubble arrives, at which point it will return to its regular position on the right. If you missed a conversation, you can check the logs for lines marked with a star. Lines heard through eavesdropping in this way will be recorded in the order in which they were heard. Okay. But we are in the mountains and the tunnel's route being closed off. Are you on duty today? How did you get so lost that you wound up somewhere like this? The suspicious female student who wouldn't stop asking incisive questions seemed rather displeased. Ran, on the other hand, felt her mood brighten just a little. This student in the tuxedo uniform is the first person in this school who actually asks why I appeared here at all. To ask, yeah. Yeah, it's correct. I read it incorrect. Okay, anyways, yeah. No wonder Makoto's not here yet. She never gets up this early, does she? I'm more than happy enough with Asakura-san's usual willingness to accompany me to class. So is it Asakura Makoto, her roommate? Still, if I just tell her that I don't know what's going on either, it'll just make her more suspicious of me. It might even impede my ability to converse with the other students. My best hope for now is to just blunder through and try to talk to her again once I've understood her a little better. Okay, maybe there's gonna be some options in the text, like different paths to take. I don't know why, but I have a feeling she's going to be very helpful to me in the future. I don't remember either. I just know that I came to this area to look for someone, and then before I realized You haven't actually answered my questions, have you? Are you hiding something? Okay, Miho, you can stop bothering the new girl now. The student named Aya put both her hands on Ran's shoulders, looking quite pleased. It's rare for us to get a new student. Try your best to get along with her. You go by Ran-chan, right? I'm Aya Toyama. It's the elder sign on her neck. Even though I know she's calling me Ran-chan in Japanese, it still sounds so awkward in Chinese. Okay. And the rude but cute one over there is Miho Takei. Takei reminds me of George Takei. Is she cute? No, she looks a bit creepy to me. Aya, I suggest you keep your distance from her. After dropping that parting shot, Miho retreated back to her own desk as though she lost all interest in participating in a conversation related to Ran. Don't worry, Ran-chan. Miho always talks like that, but I know the truth. Let's check their profiles now. So there's Aya. Investigation 5, Alacrity 6, Charisma 6. So she's also like a thief. Uniform styled after winter sportswear, constantly smiling cheerfully, seems almost naively innocent. Only willing to speak facetiously to Mihotake, she is unwilling to reveal her true feelings. Excitable and affectionate was the meaning of the crest, neck choker. Yeah, she's into SMN or something. Just a bit taller than Indo. Think she's a rock star. Okay. How about Miho? Investigation 8. Okay, alacrity 2. Charisma 6. Ooh, okay, I like her stats. Uniform styled after Western styled suits. Calm and collected, and the only student to express suspicion about Ran. However, her intentions towards Ran seem benevolent. Ran harbors positive feelings toward her, but even Ran herself can't explain where these feelings originate. Teardrop mole, incredibly pretty, not as much as Miss Sakura, of course. So yeah, this is the mole, I guess. Very long legs, ideal proportions, pretty smart too, apparently. Ooh, what weird patterns on the neck of her uniform. Wait, what patterns? She's very happy that we got a new classmate in our school as well. Not in the slightest. You answered that way too fast. What even is up with these two? Are they doing a bit? Though Toyama's got a choker on her neck, seems like she's got a rather particular taste. Ask Aya about that embroidered crest. We succeeded in the skill. Toyama, did you embroider the crest on your uniform yourself? You're asking about the crest, Ranchan, but you've been staring at my choker the entire time. That's what you're really curious about, isn't it? I pointed the star-shaped bangle dangling from the choker on her neck. Maybe the crest is like, she's a student in the school of Cthulhu or something, and the choker is to distract from that fact. Because you were insincere, I'm not going to tell you this time. Ask again later. I did just save. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go back. Yeah, let's just skip through this. No. Okay, yeah, it was the blocked channel, so I cannot ask her about the choker. But okay, maybe this is actually, she's likes us asking like, "Oh, you're into my S&M stuff and you're curious about it." Okay, fine. Okay, so I appointed this star-shaped bangle dangling from the choker on her chest and neck. Because you were insincere, I'm not going to tell you. Okay. Well, that's not fair. I mean, how the hell are you supposed to start a conversation off by asking about the choker? Oh well, it's not important, I guess. Let's just ask what she thinks about the tunnel instead. Okay. Look, Toyama, I can't afford to stay here for too long. If there's any way out of here other than the collapsed tunnel, please let me know about it. Ways out, huh? Even though I'd like for you to leave as quickly as possible, there really are no other ways out. That said, are you implying you need to flee for some reason? You completed whatever nefarious mission it was that you infiltrated the school for, so now you're getting ready to flee? You're being overdramatic. I really am just an ordinary high schooler who got lost, alright? Miho turned away once again and began pulling textbooks out from her desk. Aya, on the other hand, deposited her hand onto Ran's shoulder, facing Miho, and whispered, "Isn't she just like a shy kitten? She's adorable, right? So try not to let her rile you up, and do your best to get along together, Ran-chan." I'll try, even though I'm more of a dog person, really. As far as the school's concerned, I think Yoruna's the only cat it needs. Though I guess she's more of a feral cat, whereas Take is closer to a house cat. Aya started giggling at Ran's words. She gave Ran a few pats on the shoulder and then bounced back to Miho's side, where the two of them started chatting about other things. Ran shrugged, folded up the rag, and headed towards the storage cabinet in the back of the classroom. "Thank you for helping, Ibuki-san." "No need to thank me. This place is immaculate clean, honestly. I barely even had anything to do." Weird face, something off about her. She seems very tall. "Tama-chan, finished with your daily duties?" "Asakura-san." After hearing Asakura's voice, Tama ran over to the back door immediately. Ran returned the rag to the storage cabinet and looked towards Tama and Asakura. So in this extended pet metaphor, if Indo is the puppy, then I suppose she's the owner. I imagine if Indo had a tail, she'd be wagging it right now. I don't know, it's like some weird fetish stuff. Tama and Asakura didn't chat for long before Tama lifted a hand and gestured at Ran. Asakura's eyes widened up upon seeing Ran. She bent down and whispered a few more things to Tama. Tama nodded in response. Asakura laughed before approaching Ran. "I wasn't expecting to see any strangers in the school." Asakura held out her hand for Ran to shake. "I'm Makoto Asakura. Your name is Ran Ibuki, correct?" "That's right, I'm Ran Ibuki, the Lost Wanderer." So one is still unmet. There's supposed to be 7 girls, 7 students at least. Investigation 7, Electric 5, Charisma 7. Nice stats. Uniform styled after Western styled suits, adaptable and difficult to shock, but in an indifferent rather than collected way. Skilled in speaking diplomatically, the way Tama Indo behaves around her seems almost servile in nature. She's super tall, yep, easily amused. There's something off about her. Indo's master. "The math homework yesterday was so hard. Help me, Miho." So she's that Asakura who's responsible for maintenance. She looks like the no-nonsense type. "Absolutely not. You're only having trouble because you're lazy and you don't study." Oh, seems like you're a pretty interesting person. Good morning, Tama. Okay, that's okay. And though you might feel a little lost at first, having just arrived, you'll find that everybody's here quite nice. You definitely won't find yourself bored. Good morning, Take-san. Everyone has indeed been quite friendly. Actually, I've been having trouble keeping up with math class like Toyama-san as well. Okay, such as Take, for instance. Temporary points increased by 1. Guess maybe we should use temporary points. Ask Asakura and Indo's relationship. Ask about their relationship. Okay, my brain is melting. Tama mentioned to me that she receives a text from you every morning, Asakura. She always gets quite excited whenever she brings you up. Makoto Asakura nodded, her eyes flitting over to Tama, who was in the middle of a conversation with Miho. Almost at the exact moment she looked over, Tama looked up and waved back at her as well. Well, there's always a new text from her sitting in my phone first thing every morning after all, so of course I have to send her a reply. Asakura waved back to Tama as she continued speaking. Let's talk about you first for now. There's a lot going on with me that's worth talking about. There's not a lot going on with me that's worth talking about. Yeah, it wasn't like that relevant information, I think, that we got from her, even though I had to spend 2 points, but whatever. It's the first time I spent any points. Asakura, I still have something very important to do, and I can't afford to stay here. Do you know where the nearest station is? Okay, there's yeah, the math homework. Yeah, math homework is yesterday was so hard. Help me, I'll help you with homework after classes then. Thank you, Takei-san. Makoto Asakura folded her arms in front of her chest and thought for a moment before speaking. If you head west on the path that leads out of the school gate, you'll reach the tunnel eventually. If you go through that, you can find the station pretty quickly. But certain events have caused the tunnel to become blocked, so you're probably out of luck there. They're talking. Miho, why don't you teach me to? Because unlike you, Tama takes what she does seriously. I don't know why. I don't know when they'll send people to handle the situation either. Even someone like me who's in charge of maintenance at the school can't do anything about the tunnel. Miho, why don't you teach me too? Whereas you just need to work harder and to spend less time with your guitar at night. We got an update. Asakura started giggling to herself for some reason. Ran didn't see what was so funny though. So enjoys playing the guitar. Okay. Now, if you're planning to check it out for yourself, you should pick a later date. On the way here, I noticed the skies have already begun darkening. I imagine it's going to rain pretty soon. Ran nodded in response. All the students seem to share the same attitude when it comes to the collapsed tunnel. Nobody seems to be concerned at all, even though it's such a major hazard. You said you had something important to do before, though. What did you mean by that? Ran blinked. She hadn't expected that Makoto Asakura would want to revisit what Ran had mentioned a few minutes ago after answering Ran's questions. My girlfriend's missing. I'm looking for her. Girlfriend? Makoto raised an eyebrow with deliberation. Very well then. If you run into any problems at school, don't hesitate to give me a call. Makoto waved goodbye to Ran and then took a seat with Tama. Asakura and Indo look almost like mother and child next to each other. Ran, seeing everybody else, returned to their seats, headed for an empty desk near the classroom door as well. 6:52. She sat down at the desk and took her phone out. The screen indicated that it was currently 6:52. She'd originally just wanted to burn spare time before the rest of the students arrived in the classroom to start their morning meeting, but once she saw her lover's photo, Ran gave a deep sigh and slumped onto her desk. The noises of the other students' conversations around her faded into white noise as Ran remembered the time she spent alone with her lover in the classroom. Don't you think about these things, just focus on what's going on in front of you. Good morning, everyone! An unfamiliar voice came from above. Ran slowly turned her head and saw a new face. So, counting this girl, I've seen 6 people now, just missing the last one then. Hmm? You're. Why is there a stranger here? Feels like I've heard that response a billion times today by now. Good morning, my name is Ran Ibuki and I got lost and arrived here by accident. Lost here? How could that be? The girl seemed somewhat panicked and looked towards the rest of her classmates for support. Aya flashed a big OK sign at her with both hands. Don't worry, Press. Ranchan is a good classmate. Well, except for how she's an extremely suspicious outsider and all. Wait, give me a moment to calm down. The class president laid a hand on her chest and took a couple of deep breaths before straightening herself and speaking. Ranchan, it's nice to meet you. My name is Koizumi Hinata. Looks sort of evil in this picture. I'm the class president and I'd like to formally welcome you to our class. Okay, then there were 7. Investigation 4, Alacrity 3, Charisma only 6. Her stats are quite bad. Because, if her other stats are so low, you'd think her charisma is higher, especially since she's the president. Uniform styled after a sleeveless dress with a shirt and a shawl. After she was selected as class president, she took the responsibility very seriously. Often indecisive and hesitant and tends to go with the flow when others propose ideas or suggestions, easily falls into confusion when faced with unexpected situations. Always blushing, seems meek and obedient. Her pattern on the headband is glasses would suit her. Thanks, but my name is Ran Ibuki, not Ranchan. Look, Miss President, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get out of here. I don't plan to join the class, and besides, I'm not even from here in the first place. Do you know a way to get out of here, Miss Class President? It's unfortunate, but the only path out of here, the tunnel, can be used at the moment. Heard that one a billion times as well today. Okay, so do you know when it might be fixed then? I don't know either, but it won't have any effect on our life here at school. So you don't need to worry about it at all, Ibuki-san. Come on, let's get you up to the front of the classroom so you can introduce yourself. Why? No, Press, I'm not a transfers. Go on up there, Ibuki. I thought you liked to run your mouth. Sai entered the classroom from the rear entrance and took a seat in the second furthest row from the front, still carrying a bag in her hands. Yoruna? Ran realized that everyone in class was looking at her now, with Koizumi's expression being particularly enthusiastic. If I keep refusing, it'll just make my presence here awkward. There's no need for me to push back against all of them at the same time. Save. Haven't saved in a while. I wonder how long this prologue still is. I wonder if Yoruna picked this moment to show up on purpose, though. Alright then, as you wish, President. Koizumi looked quite pleased, and without even setting her own school bag down, first grabbed Ran and started to pull her towards the lectern. But she moved too quickly and inadvertently tripped over one of the corners of the lectern. At that moment, Ran yeah, I'm not gonna spend 2 points for this, so reach towards the class president. So I guess we either try to help her or we actually help her. But yeah, I'm not gonna spend the points. Ah! Class president. Ran reached out trying to catch Koizumi, but she was one step too slow. Koizumi supported herself with one hand on the blackboard and the other hand clinging onto the closest desk and managed not to fall. Class president. Hinata, are you alright? The other students in the class rose as well, wanting to confirm that Koizumi hadn't hurt herself. I'm fine, thank you for your concern, everyone. Koizumi pushed herself up, adjusted her hair for a moment before making a shallow bow to everyone. My apologies, I made a laughingstock of myself before all you. First time I've ever heard of anyone say the word laughingstock in everyday conversation. I don't think laughingstock is such a weird word. Like, of course, they've used some other word in the original that maybe is a stranger word. Maybe it's meant to mean that it's really old-fashioned or something. Please proceed with your self-introduction, Ibuki-san. Sure, try to be more careful, class president. Ran stepped up to the lectern and swept her gaze over all the students in the classroom. President, should I really start my introduction now? Aren't we missing someone? Ah, that's right, she hasn't arrived yet. The class president response seems a bit strange. Sakura-san hasn't shown up yet, but she woke up even earlier than I did this morning. I'd have thought... Wait, Sakura? So is it the Sakura we are looking for? Someone with the same family name as Sakura-san. I'm worried about meeting them. Hinata, have you forgotten? Miho spoke lightly with her fingers interwoven and stippled. Yeah. Because there's also R, so we have 7 names here now, but because it's also our own character's name here. Yeah, because we don't remember much about us, so of course we have to gather facts about ourselves. We picked lots yesterday. It's possible that she's the victim this time around. Victim? Ran ruminated on this strange phrase, one of which wasn't supposed to show up in a regular conversation between high school students. What are they talking about? If Miss Sakura was the victim, then she might already be dead, right? Okay, that's creepy and ominous. I like it. Dead? Ran let out a small shriek. Gosh, this round's killer sure got right to work. Maybe it's just a game and not actually killed. What are you all talking about? Then, according to the rules, we're gonna have to cancel the morning's classes, skip right to the coursework. Okay, now it's starting to sound like Danganronpa. Like, or maybe they each round they have an actual killer and they kill people, but then they're resurrected and stuff if they are truly in limbo or something. As soon as Sai finished speaking, she picked up her bag and left her seat. Ran looked around in bewilderment, hoping someone would explain things to her, but the others were also cleaning up their things and getting ready to leave. I saw Sakura earlier this morning while swimming. It's possible her corpse is somewhere around there. Yeah, I guess she's really dead. Let's go. Hold on. Ran couldn't start the growing stress in her heart anymore. She felt like she was going to explode from the pressure if she didn't do something about it. Just what are you all trying to say? That person who didn't show up, you called her Sakura? Ran couldn't breathe and she couldn't say the name. She lost control of her heartbeat again and clenched her fists until her fingernails pierced the skin of her palm to forcibly regain control over her emotions. Ran had to take several deep breaths before she was able to speak normally again. That person who hasn't shown up yet, what did you say happened to her? Koizumi approached Ran, seeming rather concerned about Ran's sudden irregular behavior. What's wrong, Ibuki-san? Are you feeling unwell? Forget that, answer me. Ran's outburst stunned Koizumi slightly, who froze up without giving her an answer. Miho, seeing the situation, intervened quickly and spoke. It's as they say, the person who hasn't shown up yet has most likely already been killed. And the killer is one of the six of us. Yeah, it's very Danganronpa. Hearing those words, Ran's brow furrowed. She looked at everyone in the room, trying to divine their expressions if this was some sort of practical joke they were all playing on her, to no avail. The stress that immediately came upon her afterwards pushed her half to her knees, and she was forced to lean on the wall for support as she broke out into sweat again. She felt the urge to dry heave, a sign that her illness was about to act up again, but she didn't want to reveal those symptoms to anyone in this room. An image of a torn sheet of paper flashed through her mind once again. You're saying that you've killed someone? We've already said it a bunch of times, haven't we? Yes, one of our classmates has been killed by someone in this class. Haha, they don't know for sure that Sakura is dead yet. They once again confirmed the truth of this bizarre situation. What's going on? What the fuck is happening in this school? What kind of place have I been brought to? Weren't things fine just a few moments ago? How did it suddenly become like... By this point, the other students had encircled Ran, who was squatting on the floor. They were all looking at her. But Ran, the subject of their gaze, was afraid to look up to them, for fear that she'd see that their faces had already begun to melt. Ibuki, why are you freaking out? Why should I not be freaking out? Ran was quietly hyperventilating. Forget seeing the corpse, just your nonchalant attitude and the way you're talking about something like this is enough to make me want to panic like a crab in a deep fryer. I sure ain't seen a crab that can still crack a joke like that after it's been already been thrown in the fryer. Ran used the periphery of her vision to speak at Sai's face. It didn't look like there were any irregularities. She relaxed slightly at that and slowly raised her head to look at the other students. You don't look like you're putting up an act. Miho bent down and began to gently stroke Ran's back. I'm responsible for filling the role of the school nurse. Here, let me take a look at you. Updated profile of Miho. Okay, I guess that she's the nurse. No, I think the missing person is the one who really needs your attention right now. Miho chuckled a little. You're absolutely right. If you think there's nothing wrong with yourself, then stand up and come along. Let's go find the corpse together. Miho offered a hand for Ran to take, and she turned to speak to Sai. Yoruna-san, lead the way if you will. Sure thing. Fair warning though, I don't actually know if her corpse is really there. All I know is I saw her hanging around there while I was swimming. Miho pulled Ran to her feet, then nodded at Sai. I think it's quite likely that that's the place then. After all, Anne hardly ever visits the swimming pool. Yep, it's her, Sakura Anne. That's true. I've never seen Anne go swimming of her own volition. So she might well have met with the killer there before getting killed. Then we should get going quickly. It'd be pitiful to leave Anne there all by herself for too long. We should deal with it sooner rather than later so that she can be at peace, right? Just as the three of them finished speaking, a loud noise came from the direction of the lectern. Ran, who just managed to get to her feet, had once again fallen to her knees. Trembling all over, she seized Miho's wrist with both hands. Ran stared at her with such intensity that even the normally unflappable Miho Takei was startled, flinching backwards instinctively. That person who didn't come, the one you said might have been killed. What was her name? Miho seemed like she was suppressing her own disordered thoughts to keep herself calm. She turned her wrist and grabbed Ran's hand, trying to pull her off the ground. But Ran's tight grasp on her almost caused Miho to collapse instead. Answer me! What was her name? What's up with you? Alright, I don't really know why you have to ask about this right now, but the name of the person who we've been talking about is An Sakura. Ron has updated her notes. Maybe I will end the stream here. Like, I was thinking I want to play through the prologue, but I don't know if there's still like, are we gonna go investigate the body or not, or I don't know, gonna go crazy or what, or there's gonna be a time skip, or what's gonna happen. But yeah, I think that the story is just starting to get interesting, but it's good to end in a cliffhanger, right? So I'm gonna end the stream here and probably continue tomorrow. So I'm Adventure Argonaut, and I thank you for watching. Bye bye.